There are moments in life when nothing dramatic seems to be happening on the outside, yet something meaningful is quietly shifting within you. This message arrives in one of those moments. Not to rush you, not to scare you, and not to demand anything from you, but simply to invite you into awareness. Awareness is where all real change begins. Before actions change, before circumstances shift, before answers appear, there is always a gentle inner realization that says, something is becoming clearer now. You may have noticed lately that your mind pauses more often than it used to. Thoughts arise, but you no longer chase all of them. You observe them. That is not weakness. That is growth. Awareness is not loud, and it does not announce itself with signs or noise. It arrives quietly, asking you to notice what you feel, what you resist, and what you are ready to release. This message found you because your inner self is already prepared for this stage, even if your outer life still feels unchanged. Many people believe change begins when life forces them to move. In truth, change begins when you start seeing clearly. When you recognize patterns instead of repeating them. When you understand your emotions instead of reacting to them. When you sense that peace is not something you chase in the future, but something you allow in the present. Awareness does not rush. It simply reveals. Take a moment and notice how your body feels as you read this. Notice your breathing. Notice how stillness feels different when it is chosen rather than forced. Calm reflection is not avoidance, it is wisdom. When you pause without guilt, you allow insight to surface. And insight always arrives before transformation. You may have been questioning certain situations in your life, relationships, decisions, directions you once felt sure about. This does not mean you are lost. It means you are becoming conscious. Growth often feels like uncertainty before it feels like confidence. Awareness removes illusions gently. It does not tear things away, it helps you see what no longer aligns. This message did not come to give you instructions. It came to remind you that you already carry the ability to sense what is right for you. When you listen with calm, clarity follows naturally. Not all answers arrive immediately, but awareness ensures you are moving in the right direction, even when the path unfolds slowly. You do not need to fix everything today. You do not need to have it all figured out. Awareness teaches patience with yourself. It teaches you to observe without judgment and to trust the process without pressure. When you understand yourself more deeply, life responds in subtle but meaningful ways. If something within you feels lighter right now, that is not a coincidence. Calm reflection creates space. And in that space, insight grows. Change does not always announce itself with action, sometimes it begins with understanding, acceptance, and inner alignment. Stay with this feeling for a moment longer. Let the calm settle. Let awareness do its quiet work. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where growth begins. As awareness begins to grow, something subtle yet powerful starts happening inside you. You begin to notice not only what is happening around you, but also how you respond to it. This is an important shift. Earlier, Life may have felt like a series of reactions, events pulling emotions out of you without warning. Now, there is space between what happens and how you feel. In that space, clarity is born. Awareness gently teaches you that not every thought deserves your energy. Some thoughts are habits, not truths. Some emotions are echoes of the past, not signals of the present. When you become aware of this, you stop fighting yourself. You stop labeling every feeling as good or bad. Instead, you observe. Observation brings understanding, and understanding brings peace. You may realize that many of the pressures you once felt were not created by life itself, but by expectations you carried silently. Expectations of how fast things should change, how others should behave, how you should already be somewhere else by now. Awareness loosens these expectations. It reminds you that growth is not a race, and peace is not a reward you earn after suffering. Peace is something you allow when you stop resisting where you are. As you continue reflecting, you may notice moments from your past resurfacing, not to disturb you, but to be understood. Awareness does not reopen wounds to cause pain. It brings them into light so they can finally rest. When you see your past with understanding instead of judgment, it loses its power over your present. This is why calm reflection is so important. Silence allows wisdom to rise. When external noise fades, your inner voice becomes clearer. That voice does not shout. It speaks gently, guiding you toward what feels aligned rather than what feels forced. Awareness helps you recognize the difference. You may also begin to sense that certain paths you once chased no longer call to you. This is not failure. It is refinement. Awareness helps you see what resonates with your deeper self and what no longer does. Letting go does not always mean loss. Often, it means making space for something more authentic. There is also a growing compassion within you now, toward yourself and others. Awareness softens harsh self-talk. You stop being your own critic and start becoming your own witness. This inner shift changes how you interact with the world. You listen more. You react less. You feel grounded even when answers are not immediate. At this stage, patience becomes natural. You no longer rush outcomes because you trust the process. Awareness shows you that life unfolds in layers, not leaps. Every small realization contributes to a larger transformation that cannot be forced. If at times you feel quiet or introspective, understand that this is not withdrawal. It is integration. Your mind and heart are aligning. You are learning to live from clarity rather than impulse, from understanding rather than assumption. This message continues to find you because awareness is still unfolding. You are not done learning, and you are not meant to be. Growth is not about reaching a final version of yourself. It is about staying present with who you are becoming. Take another moment to pause. Notice how different this pause feels now compared to earlier. Awareness deepens with practice. The more you allow it, the more naturally peace follows. As awareness deepens, something inside you begins to settle into quiet strength. You may notice that you no longer feel the same urgency to explain yourself to everyone or to justify every choice you make. This is not distance, it is discernment. Awareness teaches you that not every space needs your energy and not every voice needs your response. With this understanding, your inner world becomes steadier, less reactive, and more intentional. You start recognizing patterns that once repeated without question. Certain situations, certain emotions, certain thoughts used to appear again and again, pulling you into the same cycle. Now, instead of being carried by the cycle, you can see it forming. This moment of seeing is powerful. Awareness does not demand that you fix everything at once. It simply invites you to notice. Noticing is the first step toward freedom. There may be moments when you realize that much of your overthinking came from trying to control outcomes that were never meant to be controlled. Awareness gently loosens this grip. It reminds you that clarity does not come from force, it comes from alignment. When your intentions are clear and your actions are honest, outcomes unfold naturally, often in ways better than you imagined. You may also feel a quiet shift in how you define success. Earlier, success might have been measured by speed, recognition, or approval. Now, awareness reframes success as inner coherence, when your thoughts, values, and actions move in the same direction. This kind of success does not always make noise, but it creates stability that lasts. As reflection continues, you might sense a deeper connection with your inner guidance. This guidance is not dramatic or overwhelming. It feels calm, steady, and reassuring. It does not rush you or pressure you. It simply points you toward what feels right, even when the path is unfamiliar. Awareness sharpens your ability to listen to this guidance without doubt. There is also a growing acceptance of uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin to respect it. Awareness shows you that uncertainty is not emptiness, it is potential. Many of life's most meaningful shifts begin in moments when answers are not yet visible. Trust grows when you learn to stay present without needing everything resolved immediately. Your relationships may start to feel different as well. Awareness brings honesty, and honesty brings clarity. You may find yourself drawn toward conversations that are real rather than performative, toward connections that feel nourishing rather than draining. This is not about rejecting others, it is about honoring what supports your well-being. In moments of quiet, you might notice gratitude arising without effort. Not forced gratitude, but a gentle appreciation for small things, breath, stillness, understanding, growth. Awareness makes you sensitive to these moments, and sensitivity deepens your sense of peace. When gratitude becomes natural, restlessness fades. You may also notice that you are kinder to yourself now. Mistakes no longer feel like proof of failure, they feel like information. Awareness replaces self-judgment with self-learning. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you begin asking, "What is this teaching me?" That single shift changes everything. This stage of awareness is not about becoming someone new overnight. It is about returning to what feels true beneath layers of noise. The more you reflect, the more you recognize that calm was always available, it was simply covered by distraction and expectation. Allow this understanding to settle. There is no rush to move forward. Growth that is rooted in awareness moves at the right pace. When you trust this pace, life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a conversation, one where you listen as much as you act. Stay with this calm reflection. The message continues, not because something is missing, but because something is unfolding. As awareness matures, something profound begins to take place within you. It is not loud, and it does not demand attention, yet it quietly reshapes how you experience life. You may notice that situations which once triggered anxiety now feel manageable, even distant. This is not because life has become easier, but because your inner response has become wiser. Awareness creates space between events and reactions, and in that space, peace finds room to breathe. You begin to understand that clarity is not something you chase, it is something you allow. The more you pause, the more you realize how often answers were already present but overlooked. Awareness refines your perception, helping you see beyond surface emotions and temporary confusion. You start trusting that insight arrives when the mind is calm, not when it is crowded with noise. With this understanding, patience becomes natural. You no longer feel the need to rush outcomes or force timelines. Awareness teaches you that growth unfolds in layers, and each layer reveals itself only when you are ready. Instead of resisting this process, you begin to cooperate with it. This cooperation reduces inner tension and strengthens confidence. There is also a noticeable shift in how you relate to your past. Memories that once carried emotional weight begin to feel lighter. Not because they disappear, but because awareness reframes them. You see experiences as chapters of learning rather than labels of identity. This perspective frees you from repeating old narratives and allows space for renewal. As reflection deepens, you may sense alignment returning to your life. Decisions feel less conflicted, choices feel more grounded. Awareness connects intention with action, making your steps feel deliberate rather than reactive. Even when uncertainty appears, it no longer feels threatening. It feels like a doorway rather than a wall. You might also notice that silence has become comfortable. Moments without distraction no longer feel empty. Instead, they feel restorative. Awareness allows you to sit with yourself without judgment, and in that stillness, you rediscover clarity that external noise once drowned out. Silence becomes a source of strength rather than discomfort. Your emotional awareness sharpens as well. You begin recognizing emotions without being consumed by them. Instead of suppressing or exaggerating feelings, you observe them with understanding. This balanced relationship with emotion fosters emotional intelligence, helping you respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. There is a growing sense of trust in your ability to navigate life, trust in timing, trust in the unfolding process. Awareness nurtures this trust by reminding you that every phase carries purpose. Even moments of pause are productive when approached with presence and intention. As you continue reflecting, you may realize that many external pressures lose their grip on you. Expectations from others feel less defining. Awareness strengthens your sense of self, helping you act from authenticity rather than approval. This authenticity brings quiet confidence, not arrogance, but inner steadiness. Compassion deepens too, both for yourself and others. Awareness reveals that everyone is navigating unseen struggles. This understanding softens judgment and encourages empathy. Relationships become less about control and more about connection. Listening becomes as valuable as speaking. You may feel a renewed sense of direction, not necessarily in detailed plans, but in values. Awareness clarifies what matters most to you. When values are clear, decisions become simpler, even when circumstances are complex. This clarity reduces inner conflict and builds resilience. As this message settles, remember that awareness is not a destination. It is an ongoing practice. Some days it feels strong, some days subtle, but it always remains accessible. Every moment offers the opportunity to pause, observe, and choose with intention. Allow this reflection to continue beyond this moment. Let awareness guide your thoughts, your actions, and your understanding. Change does not require force. It begins with noticing, deepens with patience, and grows through trust. Remain present. What unfolds next will meet you with clarity.